things are surfacing.
Apparently, yeah, I have.
Aaron?
Yep, we're green. Okay. So we'll call the meeting to order. Did everyone get a chance to read the March 11th minutes?
Yes.
Any changes or updates? Okay, all those in favor, aye. All those opposed? Okay, there we go. All right, so, resolution 3688, adopting the 2024 Eastern Montana Region Hazard Mitigation Plan.
And Serena is here
Oh,
to kind of answer any questions you guys have on that.
okay.
Spell your name for me.
Sure, C-Y-R-I-N-A.
C-Y-R-I-N-A.
Yep, last name is Allen, A-L-L-E-N.
Say that one more time.
A-L-L-E-N.
Thank you.
Yeah. Oh, you're just fine. Yeah,
Okay, so let me,
thank you.
and, did you want to, kind of discuss a little bit about it?
Yeah, I didn't know if
Like-
you guys were able to review it, if you had questions about it. So this
Might be
hazard
now.
plan, what's different from 2020 when we did this is that historically, we've done county hazard mitigation plans,
Right,
and we call it multi-jurisdictional because it includes all of the incorporated towns in the city. The state decided to kind of help us a little bit more, which is awesome. We are doing regional plans now.
okay,
So the county opted into that. So now there's this huge regional state plan. We're considered Eastern District for Disaster and Emergency Services.
okay,
So there's a website to that huge 300, almost 400-page document.
yeah,
Easier just to look at that web link. But what you guys have is the annex that's specific to Carbon County, including Red Lodge. So there's the base plan, then there's the specific annex for locally, and it covers the threats, hazards, vulnerabilities that we have addressed. Lonnie was part of the workshop. Did anybody else come? This started a couple years ago and everything, of course, with the federal government slow, but
Courtney might have.
I think Courtney was a part of it for a while too.
Yeah.
So you guys had locals that were involved in addressing and looking at the different plans and making sure that we labeled and categorized them, because there's high threat, moderate, low, what that threat may cause locally. So you had people included locally that have the knowledge here.
okay.
Um,
So it was it a lot of people we usually expect to be there, you know, our,
yeah,
fire,
having,
police,
yeah,
those
you know,
type of,
so when it came to fire and EMS, they all reviewed it.
okay,
Coops is able to look at it, of course.
yeah,
But Lonnie's been here for, I don't know how long, but she's been a part of, the fires, the floods.
right, yeah,
Understands the city's vulnerabilities to like cybersecurity threats, things like that. So having her a part of it, having Courtney looking at it, making sure like, yeah, this makes sense for Red Lodge, or no, we need to make it here. Having her done a part of the workshop helped definitely cover you guys, because I have some of the knowledge, but specifically to you guys and your capabilities and your resources, they were fantastic in that, so.
okay,
And it's being presented to you because FEMA has finally, because again, we started this like 2 years ago maybe, they finally approved it.
okay,
And so now we're here for local adoption. The county commissioners adopted it last week. So now it's for all the municipalities. Joliet did theirs last night. I plan to come tonight so you guys can take action on it if you choose to.
It'll be 2 weeks before we take action. It's
Okay.
not up for action tonight.
Perfect. So I can try to come to that one.
Okay.
Whatever is, is best for you guys.
okay, yeah, that's,
Yeah.
yes, go ahead.
Is the underline on here just so that you could identify the spots you have to change the values in? Can we drop the underlines from the resolution just for consistency?
Yeah, whatever, yeah.
Okay. And then, if I understood, what we want to do is have our EMS, fire, and police basically look at that mitigation plan to verify it.
They already
Where-
have.
There.
Yeah, they
Okay,
already have access
okay.
looking at it.
Where can council go see the plan, or where can the public be
So
aware
there's,
of that Eastern Montana Region Hazard Mitigation Plan?
there's a web link that, I sent to Lonnie with the PDF, and I can send that to you, Mayor, if you'd like.
I think that when I forwarded that email to you guys, that she had sent it in there,
Yeah,
Okay,
it should be a part of it.
I can go look there then.
because there was three.
How many pages is it?
The baseline is, I think almost 400, if I remember.
Buddy.
And then there's the,
And there's an annex for Carbon County.
which is like 40-some pages.
I feel like it was 100 and something.
Well, maybe-
And my phone is that long. I have the PDF on my 153 on my phone.
That's the addendum for Carbon County.
Yeah, ours is considered an annex. There's an annex or an addendum. An annex is for us is because we were getting ready to expire. They're supposed to be reviewed and updated every 5 years. And the last time we did this was 2020, so ours is an annex for counties and jurisdictions that were still within their period of, validity, I guess you'd call it. Theirs is called an addendum.
If you guys could all have that 600 pages ready.
It's 309 pages, actually.
And if you,
That's the
that's
original.
why I was like, if you wanted to look at
I
the
will,
annex, I don't know, and you, it's a searchable document too.
And I could forward it on to all of the council members
Just
and stuff.
BCC.
Yeah.
And my suggestion for you to use, like, for review, like, if you're looking for specifics, is look at the table, that talks about your hazards, and it would be table A 3.1. A is an apple, 3.1. That'll talk, that's specific to all the different cities and towns in Carbon County. That's a great one to look at. A lot of it is just data, like demographic data that talks about how many people, how many structures, your different infrastructure, you know, things like that.
What parts would you call our attention to? So the resolution is pretty straightforward, go adopt the plan, but what parts would you call our attention to verify that, yes, that, I mean, to me, it sounds like one of those things where I'm trusting other people to make
Yeah.
decisions, but which parts would we focus on?
Yeah, that's that table, A 3.1.
Okay.
Yep, that's one I think would be a great one for you to review. A lot of it's also pictures and, you know, looking at your city boundaries, things like that, but that's a good one. A lot of this was taken from the last plan because it was still current, but what was changed is the risk assessment and the different threats and hazards. Obviously, flooding is always gonna be a hot topic until we get those floodplain maps, but,
Are we anticipating those this year?
I can't forward.
Still?
they should be hopefully next year, 2026.
Okay.
Sorry.
They have almost all of the water studies done.
As long as we don't make them invalid just before they release them.
Let's not. I might need a new job if that happens.
Okay.
Yeah, and so, I'm sorry to add to this real quick. What this plan offers is your eligibility to apply for FEMA funding, so like the public assistance funding that you guys received from the flood damages, mitigation funding, which is what you guys are using for the Bastion property. Having this adopted is what makes you guys eligible to get that funding from FEMA, which of course is all on pause right now, but, hopefully in the near future, that's something you'll figure it out, but that's one of the biggest purposes of having this, besides something for you to reference in looking at what projects you can do to help protect your community.
And then, is there a deadline to, adopt it?
I don't know of a deadline, but we were just given the okay from FEMA probably 2 weeks, I can't remember, early this month.
Okay.
We need it adopted before the second week of June, I can tell you that.
I mean, the current plan we have now expires at the end of April,
Okay.
but again, FEMA's on hold, so kind of the world's on hold when it comes to this kind of stuff, so.
And I think our plan was to have it
Yeah.
discussion tonight, and I think you're on tonight, and
Yeah.
then the next meeting
In 2
for
weeks is when
action.
we'll adopt it.
But if you can't make it on the next one, you know, I think you have something going on.
Yeah, that's April 8th, isn't it?
I think you were gonna, if my experience has been, if you're able to come there tonight,
Yeah.
that gives them the questions or homework.
Yep, my plan is to come tonight. I should be here in person.
And I'll forward on, because I sent the plan to you, Jody.
Yes.
And so I'll forward it on to all the council members so that they'll have time to.
I just tried to forward it, and it was too large of an attachment for my phone to forward.
And that's why the large base plan, I just left as a link, because it's,
Yeah.
with graphics and stuff, it just becomes a lot.
Okay. Any other, questions, or, Doug, do you have any questions?
I'm good.
Okay, anyone else? Okay. Moving on then. Thank you so much
Yeah.
we'll see you
Are
tany
you guys okay if I excuse, because I do have
Yep.
one of my
Yep.
partners coming at 10?
Can I borrow the two of you for 2 minutes?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Thank you.
Did you say me?
And always email or call me if you guys have questions.
Two.
You, sorry, I'm good.
Specify.
Okay.
There's a whole room of people.
All right. All right. So, marijuana business ordinance,
Mhm.
where are we at?
It's
Secretary.
asking me, so let me pull up last week's minutes.
Yeah.
Give me, or last session's minutes. So, city attorney has requested that we review our city ordinance to address transfers as well as our zoning where marijuana businesses may be located. The current ordinance and zoning were put in place by previous council ordinance. There's missing ordinance allowing marijuana businesses as well as guiding the city of how to manage those businesses. Can you just like clarify what you need from us?
Yes.
Thank you.
Yeah. So, when the legislature allowed for marijuana to be in the state of Montana to be used, they left it up to the counties to then decide whether the counties were gonna be a dry county or not. Carbon County approved marijuana businesses, which means, marijuana businesses are not just a dispensary. There's other businesses attached to it, specifically laboratory testing, laboratories, distribution, grow facilities. There's other businesses, types under the statute. My understanding is that, well, it's not even my understanding. So the city, because Carbon County allowed it, the city has to put some sort of ordinances or make some sort of allowances on how these businesses were gonna be run. So what Red Lodge did was make a allowance for the dispensaries, but they did not make any type of provisions for the other types of marijuana businesses under the statute. So like laboratory testing, grow facilities, distribution facilities, and that's what needs to be done. There needs to be a more comprehensive review. Obviously, I think that if I remember right, and this is remembering 2 years ago, the impetus was the dispensaries wanted to be involved in, Red Lodge, and so the ordinances were for dispensaries. And then my understanding at the time was the planning board were gonna go back and look at the ordinances concerning the other types of businesses involved. And I don't think that ever happened because it did not happen. So, that's what the emphasis of pushing it forward is because it is allowed in Carbon County, the city of Red Lodge has to make some sort of provision on these type of businesses. And it's not limiting, or it's just some sort of provision on how they should be.
So my understanding is that that what the MCA says is the city shall pass an ordinance addressing all of these.
Correct.
What the city did pass an ordinance to adopt zoning, so does that meet the legal requirement? Or are we going back and we still need to have a standalone ordinance that basically says, yes, we're gonna have it and here's how we're addressing it? And the emphasis for that question is, we have some businesses that are looking to transfer right now or to sell their license or sell their businesses. And my understanding is that there's still that base ordinance that we need that we really don't have in place.
That is correct.
So the ordinance that adopted zoning really isn't sufficient at meeting the state code, or
And
if I'm their attorney and I'm pushing it, I'm gonna say, hey, you adopted it with an ordinance, so we're okay, or where are we on that?
And that's a good point, because the zoning doesn't actually address the other businesses that are allowed under state law. So state law requires the city of Red Lodge, because it's allowed through Carbon County, it says that this is allowed. The businesses are not just dispensaries, the other types of businesses, laboratory testing, the grow facilities. There needs to be something in place to allow these type of things
Do
to happen.
they have to be allowed, or we can say we will allow A, B, and C, but not D, E, and F?
You could do that, but that would have to be a vote by the residents, and that has to go where the residents would then deny that. As of right now, the residents voted to allow it.
So our ordinance needs to, in order for our ordinance to meet the requirement, it needs to be an ordinance that addresses all of those categories.
Correct.
Should be a standalone ordinance separate from just adopting zoning.
Correct. It should be a standalone ordinance that does a more comprehensive review. Once again, it could say, you know, we're allowing certain things and not allowing certain things, but it has to be a vote of the people to disallow certain things. And currently, the vote of the people said we are allowing all the businesses, the marijuana type business.
I guess I'm kind of confused, because
Sure.
when we voted on this,
Yeah.
it was for recreational marijuana. I don't remember voting on, lab testing and
Exactly.
grow, I'm like, and Carbon County, I mean, because of Red Lodge, we passed this. The citizens of Red Lodge basically carried the whole county and said, we want recreational marijuana. So I don't understand how all this other stuff got thrown in, when all we're saying is we want, pot to be legal for everybody.
No.
Because I'm pretty sure if people don't necessarily want to grow operations
Yeah.
in Red Lodge, we don't have a lot of room in the city. I think if we put that to a vote, people are gonna say, we do not want
I would absolutely.
grow operations within the city limits of Red Lodge.
And that's allowable, that just has to be a vote of the people. Currently, the vote of the people says we're allowing these marijuana businesses.
Yeah, like.
Which means not just dispensaries, there's other types of marijuana businesses under the statute that are, currently, the vote of the people says we're allowing all these, which means the city has.
I don't think the people really meant that when they voted that way. I'm just saying.
Most people just
Probably.
didn't want you to get a criminal offense for carrying
Right,
small amounts.
yeah,
of
because
money.
I don't give a crap what people do.
So do you already
That is
have
the
a version of this ordinance drafted, I think, I recall, or how long would it take to have one for council to review?
I already drafted a proposed ordinance. I believe however, there's a proposed ordinance that sends it back to the zoning board.
Mhm.
Well, so there's two separate, there's the where, and then there's the admin part of it.
So I mean,
which
if
is
there's
what we're
a,
talking about now.
it depends on what you guys want to do as the city council, but the city council can either pass an ordinance concerning all the types of marijuana businesses, or send it back to have the planning board kind of take a look at that and kind of draft something up, and then send it back to you guys.
Can we do those two things simultaneously? One where we're saying
Yeah.
we're addressing it, and then zoning is gonna address
The where and the how.
the where?
Yeah, absolutely, we can do that.
So, or do we need to also look at putting it back on the ballot, saying that, yes, you want to allow grow and testing facilities in city limits of Red Lodge, or no, you don't?
And that's
Because-
also an option.
And I think
Right
I'm hearing
now,
we
the
have
vote
to
is
do an
yes.
ordinance that allows it until such time as we have an election that takes those off.
Correct. As of right now, the vote is that the marijuana businesses, and if the citizens didn't know that marijuana businesses include a lot more than just dispensaries, that's something that can be discussed, but
I don't, the thing is we
They
didn't
voted for
vote
it.
on the businesses. We voted to make recreational marijuana legal.
Mhm.
Nobody voted to say, we want this whole industry, in the city limits of Red Lodge.
It's a package deal. As of right now, the vote was marijuana businesses are legal, which means the city has to make some sort of arrangements for that. Until such time as the vote comes down that says certain businesses are not allowed, then things can be changed.
So one thing on that, I mean, by state law, we talked about this a bit yesterday, is we had to have, sexually oriented businesses allowed within city limits. And with that, they just put very harsh restrictions on where and how you could do that. So I don't necessarily think it needs to go back as a vote to the people to take those things away, because I worry that in return, it might change how we operate businesses in town. I think more so, we can make those restrictions within zoning that says, you can have a grow op, but it's gotta be on a parcel of land at X, Y, and Z large, it's gotta be away from schools, churches, all of that kind of thing, to where now essentially it's only allowable in an annex area that we don't even have yet.
So,
You can't, I like it,
but.
but
You can't zone it out.
we can't zone something out of existence.
Sure.
That's the law. There has to be, with the zoning laws, have to be arranged so that there is some place that they could do it within town.
Right, no,
But it could be super restricted,
and that's what I'm
so it
waiting
could
for.
be like, far corner, away from any residences, it could be some.
Yeah, I think like airport roads, like, that's, yes.
I guess my biggest concern as a resident, of the area, is when I drive through Bear Creek in the summertime,
Mhm.
it's not a pleasant experience. I guess that's a grow operation that creates that odor.
Yeah.
It smells like they got a skunk farm
Yeah,
right on the highway.
Mhm.
So imagine that odor drifting through town,
Oh.
what kind of legal ramifications that's gonna create for local government, allowing for the quality of life for the surrounding residents and businesses. Do you follow where I'm
yeah,
going?
I do.
So-
See,
So
like
how
sexual,
do you address those?
So
Yeah.
I think that's actually something that you could put in zoning to where
Absolutely.
there can't be certain smells. So if they can't mitigate the smell, then it can't be in place,
Well,
correct? Yes?
well, so at the state level, last legislative session, they tried that. They tried to push a bill forward that mitigated smell on all dispensary locations, all cultivation sites. Basically said if you can smell it outside the door, you have to do something to prevent that. And it got shut down, mainly because they realized that Montana is an agricultural state. We deal with all sorts of
Yeah.
agricultural odors.
You can't say that smells okay and that's.
Right.
Right.
Well, I personally don't like when the coffee roasters fire
Right.
up their coffee.
I'm right with you.
next to me.
right, yeah.
When I
Yeah,
lived
we're
with-
in there.
I, personally, the personal note, 20 years ago, I dealt with the city dumping 13 metric tons of sewage sludge
Right next to
right
your
next
house.
across the fence from my house, directly across that.
Yeah,
Me and Ray Coon stood, I believe it was right here, and discussed all that. And I
Yeah.
learned to deal with that. I learned to move on and get
So-
away.
so-
Believe me, you don't want a cultivation site in city limits.
So in the interest of moving things on, I see some action items that I'm hearing. One, council should identify which things eventually they would like to have not in the city, which we can then put on a ballot, and we should probably move quick, because my guess is that language has
Mhm.
probably got like an April deadline or something to be on for the year. So identify which things are there, and we can get the proposed ballot language. In the meantime, in the meantime, we need to do an ordinance that officially allows for all of them, and this isn't just adopting zoning, it's an ordinance that addresses it.
And there's already.
And it can probably just say, the where is based on zoning
Yep.
that's set up in place, but we've got an ordinance that says, we'll do it, refer to zoning.
Yep.
And then the third thing, and I think it's part of that ordinance, is we need to address what happens if somebody wants to sell. Because right now, what we had is we just had a one-time process that, how they were gonna be identified, but we don't address at all, or is that part of zoning, or is that part of that ordinance, or is that yet a different ordinance?
No, there should be a more comprehensive ordinance concerning marijuana businesses, especially this idea where there's only going to be limited to 2 businesses in town. There should be a more comprehensive ordinance in place.
Oh, I have a question.
Yeah, no worries.
If we only allow 2 marijuana businesses, and we have 2 dispensaries, guess what we've just done? The 2 licenses got used up on dispensaries, and so there's not any licenses left over for growth facilities.
That's true.
Is that accommodating? Is that,
That is.
we're gonna allow 2 businesses in town, if we hurry up and give them to dispensaries, now we're not gonna have growth facilities.
That would be a valid way of doing it, because they're together.
Would that, not in my case, but let's say Bloom, who already has an existing license, wants to put a grow facility on the backside of their property that they're already on, would they be able to kind of sidestep that? Because trust me, you guys don't want cultivation in town. All the other ones, the testing facilities, the transporter licenses, those are benign, there's nothing really to those. A testing facility, there's no way somebody would want to put a testing facility in Red Lodge, Montana, they could. But the cultivation is really what you guys need to, in my opinion, put a lid on, and within
Yeah.
city limits.
But if our ordinance said, yes, you can have all of these things, but only 2 of them,
yeah, but his question is if one of the existing,
If one of the existing ones
One
I
is,
mean,
expanded,
you think the lady
but
was
then
mad?
you do zoning to say it can't be within such and
I know,
such.
I mean, you think that lady was crabby at our last meeting, you
Oh,
start
God.
throwing pot in her backyard, she's
what
crazy.
you could do, which may be an option, is that, whatever they apply for is what they're limited to. And if they want to do anything different,
Okay.
like if they want to, do growth in the back, or if they want to get into some sort of testing, or if they want to get into transport, then they would have to reapply, and the license would be up for other people to apply for it also. That would be a process you could do that would absolutely restrict anybody from changing their license.
So in your mind,
Step through the-
let's say I have a dispensary downtown, not on Broadway. I want to sell it.
Yeah.
As we currently sit, do we have to advertise to the world that we have a license and everybody gets to apply for that? Or do I get to sell my business and the new people have to jump through certain hoops? Or is that what we haven't, is that what this ordinance could define what that process is going to be?
Correct.
Yeah.
That ordinance could define what that process is, and I would suggest we change the wording so that it's no longer a business license for a
Right.
different issue.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, but it is a permitted use, and we could easily make it where if it's somebody selling the business and somebody who's coming into the business and doing it, everything that they're already doing, it wouldn't have to, that license wouldn't come up for, I guess, or that,
Review.
yeah, review. But if they want to do something different, like they want to change the location, or if they want to get into a different marijuana business, if they want to expand, if they want to do something different than what's already been permitted, then it would trigger a review and allow other people to bid against it. Because then when they're selling their business, anybody buying the business would keep it exactly as it is. They wouldn't want to put it in jeopardy by moving the business, or they wouldn't put it in jeopardy by wanting to add a grow operation in the back. They wouldn't change anything.
But if I change the type of business or the location, then it goes back to an open bid process?
Yeah, that would be.
How does that sit with council? So if James sells his and they do the exact same form of business in that exact same location, it's paperwork, but it doesn't have to go through reapprove and it doesn't trigger an open bid process. But if somebody came in and said, I want to buy his, but I want to move it to a different location, now it goes back out to everybody to choose.
I just want it to be
Location.
defendable, you know, I don't want to end up in some lawsuit or court.
And I said,
We're impeding.
and I'm going off the very working assumption that this industry has an awful lot of money, and so like I said, the kind of our initial conversation, tell me what's defensible, because I'm going off the assumption that they're gonna pay attorneys a lot of money to find a loophole, so our job is to not have those.
That would be very defensible, because the initial bidding process, they submitted an application to the city in competition with other people, and the city selected them based upon what was contained in that application. So if they're doing anything different than what's already been submitted to the city in that application, then it would go back and trigger, you know, a bidding process. I think that's extremely.
Is this standing committee good if I direct staff to basically come back a week from Friday with an ordinance that addresses what he just talked about for us
Yeah.
to look at?
And if we pass that ordinance in that way, it's not such a big hurry to get this in front of the voters, like, right this year.
Yeah.
Because then we can, you know, next year, you could put it in front of the voters, you know, do you want to allow, like you said, lab testing probably isn't a big deal. I mean, that's all in the close, it's the agricultural smell
Yeah.
that people aren't going to like.
Can I turn that into a double request? So one, have us an ordinance that addresses that, but two, a sample ballot language that specifically says no cultivation within city limits.
Do you want,
That would
it'd be
look
yes or no, do you want to allow cultivation?
Yes, you want to
Do
allow
not?
cultivation
you know,
within
yes
city
or no?
limits or not within city limits? So I think we can have both of those things
Okay.
simultaneously.
And you need to make sure people realize they can still have their 3 pot plants in their house. It does not, it's a business, as
Commercial
a
grow operation.
operation, yes,
is the
please,
wording.
yes.
Yeah.
Or it probably would pass, so, I mean, to keep it, if you
Yeah.
start messing with people's ability to have them grow pot plants.
James,
Thank you.
your input on that, are you good with that? Are we being fair in addressing that?
That seems completely in line with sort of our mentality in all this. I really don't think that anybody coming in wants anything else other than a location in Red Lodge and downtown
A retail.
specifically, just is icing on the cake. And I've said it before, but that location works downtown. We've proved that. We haven't caused any ripples, we haven't caused any problems. I'm not saying somebody couldn't come in and cause those problems, but that location works. So I think by starting off there and then saying if you guys have grander vision, then that has to be reviewed and voted on perhaps. But I don't see how just kind of transitioning from one well-run dispensary to another well-run dispensary in the same location would cause cause too much grief for you guys or any?
And just kind of to set and manage expectations, so if we were to get an ordinance in 2 weeks,
Mhm.
have some changes to that, it could be up for first reading basically a month from now.
Great.
So best case scenario, you're talking in 2 months, we could have this addressed. I'm gonna say 3, just because it's gonna be
Sure.
so that's just kind of to manage expectations.
Yep, and that timeline's fine with us, because honestly, the SB 27, which is the one that's going to restrict new dispensary locations, goes into effect, if it goes into effect, on July 1st. It's gone through Senate, it's gone through committee, it's waiting to go to the governor's desk as we speak, I think. Maybe there's one more hearing. I'm kind of lost in some of those legislative cycles. I think they have one more hearing, and then it's pretty much a done deal, and it goes to the governor's desk. So that timeline works fine.
So what is it?
I can get one done.
So SB 27, they want
So
to,
two versions, right? One for ballot language of no
That one will take a little bit more time, but the ordinance I can get done today. Get that over to you guys.
And I said our deadline will basically be a week from Friday, because that way we can get it out to everybody.
So SB 27 extends the moratorium on new licensing, no new licenses for another 2 years till 2027. So no new licenses, whether you're in-state, out-of-state, there's no new licenses. That's been in effect ever since 2020. They just roll it over every cycle. They're also going to.
Thank you.
I just gotta step out, I gotta.
No worries.
No.
And they're also going to put so they're also going to allow for transfer of licenses within the industry, meaning no.
It actually describes a real process, rather than just, we're not
Correct.
telling you yes, but we're not telling
Yeah.
you no.
And it's not within the industry, so even a private entity, an investing group could come in and buy my license. They don't have to be an existing, dispensary location. And then it also puts a cap on no new dispensary locations within the state. So they can do more cultivation, they can do more manufacturing sites, but no new dispensary locations. Again, the fact that we're capped here and the fact that they're putting a cap on it statewide, it's honestly, it's the reason we're making the move now. Trust and I have kind of been waiting for the right time to get out of this and use the investment to our benefit, and it's all of a sudden just stacking up to like now.
Does that SB 27 then, in your interpretation, protect against somebody buying your facility and then moving it next door to the Candy Emporium, for example?
After July 1st, it would. Absolutely. That's why there's a big push. That's why we're being called like every other day right now by dispensaries, because they want to get this done before July 1st. And I'm bluffing. I'm just kind of stalling.
Blame it on me.
So after.
Yeah, I am.
After-
I've got city
I'm 100%
questions to
okay with
answer.
that.
After July 1st,
Mhm.
if you shut down your operation and vacate that location, how does that affect the city allowing for 2?
Right.
Then,
That would
by
be,
hearing that
That
when
would,
it's gone, it's gone?
that's an interesting,
that's why the ordinance needs to say, anybody coming in for a new location or a new thing has to go through this city selection process.
I just, this goes above and beyond that,
right,
to where
if I just walked away.
if one of the 2 dispensaries were to shutter, does that just take that off the table then?
Yeah,
Yeah, because there's no
seems like it
new,
would, and when
Yeah.
it passed after July 1st, I believe it would. I mean, once the location shuts down, they can't open it back up again. After July 1st, it'll be limited to existing locations. They can shuffle the owners around all they want.
I wouldn't sell before July 1st either, because the
Yeah.
value's gonna be way up there.
Yes, yeah. I mean, so we love doing what we do, but honestly, it's such a beatdown constantly. It's like they let you up long enough just to punch you back down again every time. And it's just, I feel like I have legitimate business and we still get treated like criminals, and I'm kind of over it. Let somebody else deal with it. Somebody else can make it happen. Somebody else has the spine and backbone to just dig in the trenches and go again. That's great, but Tress and I are pretty much done with this whole process. I'm getting too old for this.
yeah, I get it. Okay, so, we will look for that from Dennison. I think this definitely helps. And then planning board is looking at,
Yep, and that won't be happening until late
After
summer
July.
anyway, but yeah, after July, so.
so then it probably won't really matter.
Well, I'm gonna say, in this environment, it won't matter.
But
We
in the
should
future.
plan because.
Oh, yeah, definitely. I mean,
It's
it,
gonna be the
I guess
most
what I'm
restrictive.
trying to say is that it kind of takes away the emergent feeling of having to get a lot of things in place, because the state's kind of done that for us for another 2 years. So we should definitely be working on it, but
And if
you
you
know,
happen
kinda
to,
like-
if you happen to be really rich and really opposed to marijuana businesses within Red Lodge, make them an offer, write them a check, and then decide to shut it down.
Well, that brings up another point, you know, if someone like Bloom comes into town, which they're first on my email chain right now, they're bothering me 3 times a week. If they come into town and take over our license, they potentially could just say, well, we're just gonna burn that license, and now I only have one location, I have the only location in Red Lodge.
And so they could buy it
And/or-
just for exclusivity.
Right, well, and/or they would have both licenses, but then creates a monopoly, and I don't know how you guys feel about having a monopoly in town or something like that. They already have it in Bridger, they've done that in Bridger, they snapped up both licenses there, they're barely using the second one, they have a store.
I think that's just one of those things we need to figure out how to adopt.
Yep, right.
So they own
Yeah.
Sweetgrass?
Yes, well, Bloom is a national company. This is just Bloom, Montana, that runs Sweetgrass, Bloom, and they have another third sister company called Happy Hippie or something. And they just kind of spread them all around under the assumption that, oh, that's not Bloom, that's Sweetgrass, well, it's Bloom. So you got
Is that-
Sweetgrass.
Can you
Sweetgrass here.
legally protect against monopolies? Our attorney left, but I would almost think that you really can't.
I don't know. That's, I would wish he was here to answer that. I don't know.
Yeah.
Well, and I don't even know if it's concerned, but it would happen. I mean, if Bloom snapped this up, they would have.
I don't think you can do anything on a city or state level. I mean, that's a national type thing when monopolies
Monopoly is
start
one of those
happening.
things that's-
Yeah, it's a
that's not
nationally, regulated thing, and they're definitely
It-
not a
They do a
national
great job,
monopoly.
obviously.
It would be a monopoly within the city limits, but it wouldn't necessarily be a monopoly within the region.
Right,
Right.
exactly, so I don't think we can.
But we
I
can
think
look
it'd
at
be cool.
what
Yeah, well, it kind of-
what changes that trigger of when it comes back to the city to review.
Yeah.
Because that review process could factor that in. We'll give more points if it's diversity as opposed to,
The same old. Well, what he brought up, you know, they wouldn't be, it'd be a city monopoly, not necessarily a regional monopoly. It almost would be, because now within Carbon County, there's only 6 locations, and I think one's about ready to shut down. 3 of those are already Bloom, so if they snap up us, then that's 4 out of the 5, 6, I think it's gonna be down to 5. So Bloom would literally have 4 out of 5, maybe 6 locations in the entire county. So that is, I'm just throwing it out there. I don't have a
Who
call
has
one way or the other.
a grow operation in Bear Creek?
That's, C4, and they don't have, they're the one you smell all the time, and their main dispensary location is up in Lockwood, right next to the interstate.
Oh, okay.
They have just recently put up a teeny tiny, just added on a little scab of the building, kind of similar to what these guys could do with the cultivation site. They already had the dispensary location, or the cultivation location, sorry, and they just literally added on this tiny little corner on the existing building, and now they have a dispensary there. They have never played nice with anybody. The inspectors don't like them. They're the people that just cause problems, and that's why they've kind of gotten a stink over there. But, yeah, literally. But, yeah, that's the other one. So, I mean, that would be the consideration that you might consider is, do you want Bloom to have 4 locations out of 6 in Carbon County? And do you want to put something in place that?
I'm eager to see what that ordinance he comes up with, because I, up until now, I've kind of wondered what the future looks like, and I think I understand kind of what it looks like right now.
Mhm. Mhm. And Bloom has been bought out. They are no longer, they got bought and sold, in the last 6 months. So they're now owned by as I understand it, by a equity investment. I'm not sure I'm using the right term, but they're basically bought the company, they're gonna pump it up, make it look good for 2 years, and then dissolve everything and sell it off piece and parcel. That's the rumor on the street. They should have disclosed that. But they are absolutely owned by a large nationally run investment group. They're not a local Montana-based company at all. They're probably would be my last choice. I'd mentioned that I would be the first sort of layer of vetting and all this. As much as I think it would be a seamless transition with those guys, because they're already here, public, acceptance is already there. For me, they're kind of like ethically the last one that I would choose, just for all this. They're the biggest corporate.
Because when it goes south, people are gonna blame you. Who started it.
Well, I'm proud of what we built here, honestly, and I don't want Bloom to tarnish that. I don't think they have. They've done a great job, but I just, I'm just not a big fan of that big corporate structure. That's, Tress and I built this on the back of our own shoulders here, and see corporate structure come in and offer me a big chunk of money and just say, okay, I'll take it and run. Doesn't sit well with me now in the long run when I'm just making bank, sure, but I have other people that would gladly pay that. I would rather see I'd rather see a private investor, somebody who just comes in pie in the sky, like, oh, I'd love to do this, I'd love to take this business further, I have more managerial skills than the McGregors did, I know I can make this business work, Trump's gonna make me a ton of money, you know, that, yeah. Or there's a whole list of people in Billings, small-time operators, who would love to expand in this market. So Bloom's kind of like last on my list of people that I want to consider, but at the same time, they're the obvious choice. They've got deep, deep pockets. They're buying out small businesses such as themselves every day. Like literally, they are making big grab of anybody they can right now, which isn't, you know, my idea of how to do it, but what do I know? I can barely.
That's the Walmart of pot shops.
Literally, yeah. It's a difference between the two.
Oh, my God.
Maybe not quite as bad. I
The
mean,
RJ Reynolds.
yeah, they're, you know, their IGA were Babcock and Miles. They're kind of like that. I'd rather see more Babcock and Miles.
Anything else on that?
Sorry,
I know.
I didn't realize you
All
were sitting next to me.
Okay, all right. Well, I think we're, off to a good start here on getting this settled, so I appreciate your input
Likewise.
and your time
Likewise.
and coming to this. We don't really have a lot of time left, and I don't know that we really want to get into the business registration ordinance at this,
Right. The only question I had for that is, does this, as we talk about, we have our 3 action items, we get a ballot in place to exclude businesses, specifically cultivation.
yes or no?
Yes or no. We need an ordinance to allow all the businesses, which Dennison is working on, and then we need a comprehensive ordinance for the process of application, transfer, caps, and operation
Right.
And I think that's part of that same ordinance.
of 907.
No,
Yeah.
no.
No.
Oh, I'm talking about just the pot one, sorry.
Yeah, well, this is the pot one, so that's what I'm asking.
Oh, I
We
thought
have
nine
this
oh seven
comprehensive
was
ordinance
all
for the-
businesses.
Well, again, because we have short-term rentals, we moved all of the process for registration. That is in 907. So what your application process looks like, how you pay your resort taxes, what makes you eligible, all of those things, lives in 907 for the registration. And so when I see we need a comprehensive ordinance for the process of application for the registration, I feel like that goes in 907. Am I thinking wrong on that, or is that, I feel like that's where it should naturally fit? And it's something we're already working on, so it's not,
Yeah, it would naturally fit there.
and I don't think we necessarily have to have this right this moment either. We just have to have the one that allows. We already have a 2-business cap, so we don't have to worry about that. It'll refer back to zoning. But then in terms of the comprehensive ordinance for what that process looks like, something that we need to be working on, does that live in 907, or is it its own standalone?
I would honestly be okay with it having its own because it's so intricate and there's so many moving parts to that.
I anticipate it'll be part of that ordinance that Dennison's putting together for us,
Right.
but let's see what we get and then determine if we need to have it in 907.
We'll ask him right now.
Because we could just put in 907, refer to this ordinance for the, that part of it.
Well, remember, the ordinance creates code.
Yeah.
So it'll be MCA's, or it'll be municipal code someplace.
Both of those would do that, though, for the record, because they're both ordinance.
I think we're under a little bit more of a time crunch. It would be the only thing for the dispensary, for the transfer, for that type of thing, so.
I feel like we're also in a bit of a time crunch for 907, because we have
Yeah.
to change that language to change.
And,
We
and
do.
the
And-
goal on 907 is to have that done and resolved before end of fiscal year, so that, because weren't there implications on short-term rentals on that?
No, not necessarily. It was mostly just changing the language to have registrations, and then we were going through the ordinance 967 to pull all of that language out, all that comprehensive stuff, and put it into the registrations. That's why I feel like these two are tied, is,
They are tied. I mean, if we think we can get it all done, I'm not opposed to that.
Okay.
I just, because of the way that the marijuana dispensaries and all of this are under scrutiny, I wouldn't be opposed to them having a standalone ordinance addressing everything, just so people can go and look at that. How do you feel, Dennison?
I think that's a good idea.
Okay.
Yeah, I kinda like that.
Because then
Separate.
if the state changes things, then we only have to go back, we'll just go back and adjust whatever we need to in that ordinance to meet the state requirements, so.
But the zoning last time around included marijuana locations and the sexually oriented businesses literally in the same paragraph. If we could separate those two, I think it
Yeah.
would save a lot of heartache, because people went right immediately to, oh, we're gonna start selling sexual toys in our dispensaries, which
Yeah.
is not the intent of the wording there. Oh, is that what it is?
I
You'd be
know.
surprised how many people
You're
read
just
that.
gonna have a Miss Kitty's in
I
the
know,
back
right.
room.
So just
It's
for what it's worth, they would
okay.
separate the language there a little bit, separate paragraph for sexually oriented businesses might be.
Hey,
There's a lot of jokes there.
I
I know
know, like
there
Miss
are.
Kitty's was like a super popular store in Bozeman.
I was just, I was comment that you're just able to rattle off these.
Yeah.
Oh my God, no, when we were in college, we'd always joke about it. Oh, it's like, look, we're going to Miss Kitty's.
Well, you could, I mean, the fact is, technically, we could be both if we wanted to, there's nothing stopping it. It's
No.
funny
Did
how
you have a
it got
question
worded, everyone
about
assumed that
monopoly?
that's what we were
I
gonna do.
know.
It was never
Oh,
the intent.
I just sent a draft ordinance, just to Dave and Jody.
Okay.
But it can be forwarded, it's a draft ordinance concerning marijuana businesses, that kind of encapsulates what we talked about earlier this morning.
Okay, perfect.
Is there anything you could do in an ordinance itself to help prevent against monopolies, or is that a no-touch zone?
Monopolies?
Yeah, in other words, like both of them being owned by the same thing. To me,
Oh.
it could be part of your.
He's like, don't go there.
That was what we thought. That's what we thought,
Yeah,
anyway.
no.
But it could be part of the scoring
That's-
system, like you give preference to diversity or,
Although, correct me if I'm wrong, they can't be owned by the same, the license. there's
That's what,
something-
you're talking about liquor licenses.
Yeah, oh, is it liquor license?
Yeah, I mean, so you could
Yeah,
say,
it's a
yeah,
liquor
and that's a state
that's a
thing,
state thing.
but they have not done that to marijuana
Marijuana businesses.
dispensaries yet. They do that to liquor licenses,
Yeah, because I know a
because,
family where the dad had owned a liquor license.
and then the daughter owns one, and the wife owns one, and, yeah, I know, yeah, exactly. So, and
But
they
no.
create a corporation for each one, so
Yeah.
that they get away with
yeah,
it.
3 minutes.
Okay, so are we wrapped up on this part then? We're good? Okay.
So, going back to 907, just real quickly with this, would it make sense then if we're doing the same thing for marijuana businesses? And it would actually help speed up our 907 process, instead of bringing the STR stuff and the classifications that we've been talking about, we can just do the same thing, refer to ordinance 967, and we can clean it up there.
I'm fine with that.
Yeah, I mean,
I
then we
mean,
can have 907.
And then we're not
going.
gonna have 907 be this great big huge
And having to
thing,
explain to
like-
people why it's moving from one to the other.
Yeah.
I think that makes this so much easier, so we can just have STRs refer back to.
Anything that has extra regulations attached to it, I feel it's fine to have a separate ordinance
Okay.
on that.
And Lonnie, how do you feel about that? Because that, again, that directly affects you guys. So whereas the process of how those registrations work and transfer and all that is in its own standalone, and it just refers back to it in 907, and that works for you guys? Okay.
So what you're saying is 907 just has,
907.
recognize that there are certain industries that have a cap and additional regulations. So see the ordinance on short-term rentals, see the ordinance on marijuana dispensary,
Yes,
marijuana businesses.
Because my problem was having it all under 907 and then treating different businesses differently, and this would make it so that you can do that.
Yeah.
It just makes it
Makes it
easier.
Yeah,
Sure,
no, I think that's
Yeah,
great.
yeah.
So,
Okay.
yeah, if we can go back in and just take all that out, put it all back
Copy
in
paste,
the other,
copy
really
paste.
just back to
I
track
know.
everything we did the last
Copy paste.
year.
Okay. Perfect. One thing I didn't put on the agenda, and I just wanted to touch base, the audit.
It is available online, so
Yeah.
we got that, so
Okay.
what would you like it's available online.
Okay.
I've got that in comments.
I guess, if we can, are we discussing it anytime soon in front of all of council? I guess just to highlight a quick brief report to council on the audit findings. I know it's available online, but just, even if it's under the mayor's report,
I think it
Type-
should be.
type of thing, it's like just to
So put
highlight
together an
them.
overview summary tonight, I can do that.
Yeah, that would be great, just so that people know that we've been audited, and these were the findings, and,
Anything to
they
be
have,
concerned about, yeah.
yeah, because I don't want people to feel we're like hiding things
No,
and things like
like I
that.
said, The day we got it, it was online.
I know, but
Yeah.
people won't know that, or they
Yeah,
won't know
people
where
are
to look.
hanging out on the city website,
Right.
like-
I know.
Like, oh, how exciting, audits came out.
So yes, I would really appreciate it if you would,
Include that as part of the summary rather than just the audit is here and online.
yeah,
Yep.
yeah,
Will
that
do.
would be great.
Yep.
Okay, and then budget, we'll be starting on that here shortly as well.
We've been started on it, but yeah.
I'm in our committee, yes.
Yeah.
Okay, perfect. All right, I will adjourn the meeting unless there's any other public comments. Anybody online, let's talk. Anyone? Okay. Let's go, all right, we'll adjourn the meeting. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good job.